I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
Hello, I'm Karen Roberts. This is your news at 4 o'clock. A senior Conservative MP says he fears mask wearing in schools could damage children's mental health. That's as secondary school pupils in England are being advised to wear masks again to minimise the disruption caused by the Omicron strain. The move brings English schools in line with the rest of the UK, as the government says there are no excuses for children not to learn face-to-face. Robert Halfon, chair of the Commons Education Select Committee, says the risks from COVID need to be balanced against the risks to children's well-being.
There's a lot of research out there from all around the world, from Belgium to Germany to Canada to the United States, that suggests that masks have a negative impact on children's well-being, mental health, learning and emotional abilities. So I think we need to be very cautious here.
But Professor Hugh Pennington thinks the move will make some difference in tackling the spread.
It's not the silver bullet to stop the transmission of the virus. It shows that something is being done, and there's going to be a relatively small but real reduction in transmission.
Boris Johnson wants ministers to develop robust contingency plans for workplace absences over fears that rising COVID cases could affect businesses. It follows reports that guidance to work from home in England could continue for most of January. Public sector leaders have been asked to test plans against worst-case scenarios of up to 25% workforce absence rates. 20 Conservative MPs and peers have written an open letter calling on the Prime Minister to tackle the rising cost of living, particularly energy bills. Those who signed the letter, which was published in the Sunday Telegraph, include 5 former ministers. They're proposing environmental levies are cut and VAT is removed from energy bills. The government says it's already taking steps to help the most vulnerable by making cold weather payments and changes to universal credit. Firefighters are assessing damage to the roof of the Houses of Parliament in South Africa after a fire earlier today. Around 35 firefighters attended the blaze, which is believed to have started on the 3rd floor of the building in Cape Town. Some ceilings have now collapsed. However, no injuries have as yet been reported. And the Queen's long-standing lady-in-waiting and friend, Lady Farnham, has died at the age of 90. She was a close confidant of Her Majesty, supporting her since 1987 in her role as Lady of the Bedchamber. Lady Farnham, who died last month, accompanied Prince Philip and the Queen on royal tours during her 44 years of service. Farmers are to be paid to help restore natural habitats in new government plans. Environment Secretary George Eustace is set to announce 2 new schemes to rewild Briton. The aim is to restore up to 300 hectares within 20 years. The Sunday Telegraph reports the plans will include a local nature recovery scheme with funding to build new habitats, plant trees and restore wetland areas. That's your news update. I'll be back with another one at the top of the hour.
It's time to remind ourselves there's always another winter. Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
Looking ahead to this evening's weather, and the UK is looking windy with heavy, blustery showers, bringing hail and thunder to some southern areas. It will be a drier end to the day in the southwest with some sunny spells, remaining windy here with the odd gusty shower still possible, especially near the coast. Remaining rather windy in the southeast of England too, with strong gusts at times, a mix of sunny spells and locally heavy showers. There will also be scattered heavy showers in Wales, pushed along by strong gusty winds. The winds will be strongest along southern and western coasts. A band of heavy, blustery showers will move northeastwards across parts of the Midlands into this evening, while other areas will remain dry with clear spells. It will be rather windy for all. The day will end mostly dry for northeast England with clear spells for many of us. An isolated shower is possible, brought in on the brisk winds, which will be gusty at times. It will be cloudier for southern Scotland with outbreaks of showery rain, turning heavy at times, especially over the higher ground. It will be windy and gusty here too. Northern Ireland will also end the day on a rather cloudy note with outbreaks of showery rain, which will be heavy at times. Winds will be brisk, especially around the coast. Blustery showers will continue overnight, especially in the west. A band of rain and hill snow edges south across Scotland.
Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
Hello, I'm Mark Dolan and welcome to the Greatest Britain and Union Jackass festive special, in which we look back at the heroes and villains of 2021. And helping me to do that is my fabulous panel of Benjamin Butterworth, Dawn Neeson and Morgan Schondelmeyer. Benjamin, your first Greatest Britain.
Well, I'm going to go for a woman that's not famous but has been so important this year, and you had her on your show earlier.
Dawn Neeson.
I'll take it, fine. Let's finish the programme now.
Actually, Dawn she is famous. She's on bloody everything.
She is. I saw her outfit.
Tonight
I said ding.
I've come as the Christmas tree.
Exactly. I saw the outfit. I said ding dong. She looks amazing. But my Greatest Britain, first of all, is going to be a woman called Lisa King, because this year we have had in-person GP appointments not return while so much of the rest of the country has got back to normal life. And I think at Christmas, when lots of people get sick, lots of people will be thinking about loved ones that, you know, aren't here that they wish. Yeah. I'm thinking about Lisa King because she lost her husband, Peter, after she was refused an in-person GP appointment. She's had such a tough time, and she's been on GBNews, she's been on other programmes, she's been in the newspaper that I write for, campaigning so stoically to get the government to return in-person GP appointments. I think it's such an important issue, and she really has inspired me this year.
It's a great shout, Dawn. The NHS has been under unprecedented pressure, and we salute the nurses and doctors and frontline workers in the NHS for what they've been through.
Absolutely.
But the focus now, as we hopefully exit the worst of this pandemic, is to get the face-to-face appointments back and get the NHS back focusing on all illnesses.
Indeed. I mean, before the pandemic, we know that 80% of people were having GP appointments in person. Now we're still only in the mid-50s of that happening. And people are still suffering. There are lots of horrendous stories of people that have lost loved ones because they couldn't get to see a GP, or they were worried about bothering a GP, and that is still going on. And members of my own family are still too worried to bother the NHS that they paid for their entire lives. So I think that one of the big Christmas messages this year is that we need to get the NHS back up and being a service and not just a COVID service.
And we are customers. It is a service, and the reason why we're customers, Morgan, is because we pay for it.
Absolutely, and I think that's easy to forget because it's free at the point of use, but we all pay for it every day. I think Dawn makes a point. The idea that we are afraid to use it, I think, goes back to that original COVID messaging, protect the NHS, which was very effective at the time to stop, an overwhelming of the NHS. But now we need to make sure that we're getting back to getting people all of their preventative health screenings, cancer screenings, and even elective appointments.
Well, I'm beginning to think the policies were there to save the NHS, but what they've done is wreck it. But I do hope that our great health service can survive this pandemic. I have my doubts. Dawn, your Greatest Britain.
Right, okay, I'm going to go for someone I never thought I'd nominate in a million years. I'm going to go for J.K. Rowling.
Right.
I know. Controversial, I know. You've probably cancelled her, haven't you? I know.
A few times.
I think the only person that's sold more books than her now is God. And I do think she'll catch him.
Yes, no, I think she's pretty much getting up there. And because the reason I've never actually read any of the books, I must admit, and I struggled through trying to watch one film with my niece when she was a little girl, then wanted to kill myself halfway through.
Right.
However, I am nominating J.K. Rowling because of the stance she has taken about women this year. Now, this is not being transphobic before you start, because I know what you like.
You're welcome to your opinion, Dawn.
Thank you very much. This is about the fact that the word woman now, Mark, is deemed offensive. To say you're a woman makes you transphobic. No, it doesn't. I'm not a cis woman, I'm a woman. I'm not somebody with a cervix, I'm a woman. I'm not somebody who chest feeds. I'm a woman who breastfeeds.
Are you a birthing human then?
I'm a birthing human. Well, actually, at my age, love, possibly not. But no.
Never say never, Dawn. Look at Madonna.
Is that an offer? Any case.
Well, it is Christmas. New Year.
I think I might be taken tonight. But J.K. Rowling, she has spoken out about this and just defending. Honestly, Mark, we have fought for centuries now to have our voices heard as women.
Yes.
And now we are being cancelled. Even the very word has to be spelt with an X in case you offend somebody. And I'm sorry, so I mean, this Christmas I want everybody to be loved up and happy and inclusive. Benjamin, stop snarling at me out the corner of your mouth. But I also want women's voices to be heard. It doesn't mean you hate anybody, it just means you are proud to be what you are.
Morgan, I'm vigorously pro-trans. I'm sure we all are, because I take the view that it's like being a gay person. It's not a life choice, it's who you are. And anybody that takes that journey should be celebrated and acknowledged. But what we've seen in the course of the last year or so is a questioning of basic biology, the idea of two biological sexes, and as Dawn said, a sort of land grab of the language around femininity.
Yeah, I think a lot of this comes down to companies wanting to seem inclusive and doing their best and being afraid to put a foot wrong. I think we do need to be careful about the language that you use and obviously show respect to all parties and understand this is a very heated debate. And I think the most kind of reasonable way forward is to make sure that we are taking into account all these women who feel as Dawn does, and respect that as a valid opinion as well.
And being pro-trans and being supportive of the trans community shouldn't be at odds with being a feminist.
No, of course, the two are.
At the moment, that's what's happening.
One of the really annoying things, Megan, you'll find this if you look on the NHS websites, right? If you look at the website for cervical cancer on the NHS website, okay, it says people with cervixes, right? Okay, and if you look on the website for prostate cancer, it says men. So why can't you use the word women when you're talking about cervical cancer, but when you're talking about typical male cancer, it's okay to use the word men?
And the fact is that there are a very small number of people who are transgender men, so they were born as women and they always identified and then had the physical operation to be a man. And those people will have a cervix. It's very few people, but sadly, Lord Duncan, who is a Conservative minister, his brother, who was born as a woman, died of cervical cancer because the NHS didn't recognise it. And that's why this sort of thing is so important.
But why not say women and people with cervixes?
Sure,
and
I wouldn't have a problem with that either.
Men and, people with testicles, for example.
I
wouldn't
have a problem with that either, but so often it is made out as though those people don't exist or as though those people are some kind of threat, and I just don't accept that.
Do you accept that some women feel cancelled this year?
Well, I think that's certainly the agenda that's being pushed by some people, including J.K. Rowling, who was your original Greatest Briton. Look, I hate the idea that we try to build this fight between women and transgender women. This fabricated argument.
It shouldn't be a fight.
About who should go into women's toilets. Well, the truth is that if any law affected who can go into a men's or women's toilet, it was the Gender Recognition Act. It was 16 years ago. And so, this isn't a problem that's actually happening, but people are trying to whip it up as though you should show your genitals at the door. I think that's a horrible way to go about society.
My eyesight's not that good anymore, Benjamin.
No, but it's also a habit I got out of years ago, and thank God I did.
Those Channel 4 days.
What are you going to do? It was early days in my showbiz career.
And it was very cold as well at the time.
A boy's got to work. Now, Morgan, how about you? Your Greatest Briton?
Back to kind of the talk of COVID. I'd like to nominate Dame Sarah Gilbert, who is one of the leading scientists who developed the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. An exemplar of British science and technology. She led many years ago the development of an annual flu vaccine. She is at the top of her field. And I think she really represents what this country is capable of. And the vaccine rollout was incredibly important to getting us out of this pandemic, saved countless lives, allowed us to resume life as normal. And I really think that their efforts should be commended.
Now, you're an expert on economic matters. Do you think Oxford AstraZeneca missed a trick not making a profit from the vaccine?
I think they could have done. I acknowledge completely that they felt, as a brand even, that this was something that was good for their brand. I think they also realized that this was integral to getting us out of the pandemic. I think if they had said to the government, we want, £100 per dose, £200 per dose, the government probably would have paid it because the cost of the pandemic per day is in the billions. So I think that they could have wrung us for all they're worth, but I think it's a testament to their mission and the kind of understanding this was a burden that they felt that they owed the world, and I appreciate it for them.
I think it was a very nice and honourable thing to do, but I just wondered about that. I was just thinking, Benjamin, of all of the research and development money that could have been raised if they had charged £5 per dose.
Well, it's a good point. Look, I think it's incredibly honourable, and actually it's one of those things that makes me proud to be British, because Pfizer, Germany-based, didn't make the same decision that AstraZeneca did. Now, I don't actually think they did anything sort of evil. They've helped the world a great deal with their own vaccine. But I think it would make sense maybe if that countries like Britain had paid something with a profit margin in it in order to fund better manufacturing to get it out to most of the world. Half the world still hasn't had that chance to get the vaccine and is still at risk this Christmas. And I think we should be really pushing on that to get those doses out as fast as possible.
Now, J.K. Rowling, great feminist icon. Dawn Neeson, great feminist icon. One of the longest standing Fleet Street editors of any gender.
Where's this going, Mark?
And look, she can I just say,
there's a but, isn't there?
Dawn Neeson, Dawn does not do compliments. Look at her bristle.
No, I'm just waiting for it.
She bristles if you say anything about it. But another feminist icon has got to be Sarah Gilbert.
No, absolutely, I agree. And what I do, it's a great nomination, and what I find so sad with the whole vaccine debate, it has become so divisive. Like everything in this country at the moment, we should be singing the praises to the roof of what we've achieved with the vaccine rollout in this country. Huge. The fact that we've saved so many lives. But, ever since Brexit, every single thing we do, every single debate becomes division and hatred.
But isn't it because the vaccine rollout has been so forcefully rolled out? There's been such strong messaging and people haven't felt like it was personal choice.
It's been a lot of stick and not much carrot, hasn't it? And I think that's the problem with the way the whole...
The carrot is freedom.
I know you're looking at me.
I just think, call me old-fashioned, but I just think you inform the public and you say, look, here are the risks of COVID, the vaccine's available and we will make it available 24/7 to anyone that wants it. Off you go. And I think that with that messaging, we would have had pretty much as many people vaccinated as we already have.
Look, I think there's more carrot than Rudolph's getting this Christmas. The idea of freedom, of being able to live your lives.
Are we talking metaphorically here, or
when you leave it outside your front door?
It's nothing about your Christmas day.
Well, look, let's move on to our rather troublesome.
You can't take her anywhere, honestly.
Well, speaking of troublesome individuals,
you didn't say that the other night.
Look at you too. Well, get a room, please.
We did.
Too much eggnog these days.
I just deny everything. We've had enough Christmas sherry.
Just keep Dawn away from the mistletoe, is what I would say.
You're talking of which...
She carries it around with her. Yeah. That's cheating. Now, Morgan, let's talk about your first Union Jackass.
My first Union Jackass, I'm going to have to go with Keir Starmer. I just do not think he is leading a powerful opposition. Keir Starmer just hasn't been there. He hasn't been leading a strong opposition. He's opposing everything for opposing's sake. I don't think there's any clear trajectory for the Labour Party. You want a strong opposition, even if they're not the party of your favour, because that creates better policy. When you have an actual opposition who can say, I don't like this and here's the reasons why, and even better, here are my alternatives, then you get better policy making. Keir Starmer just says, no, we're not going to do that, and doesn't give any explanation, any reason why, and it seems that the Labour Party is really lost.
Benjamin, what you want for Christmas is a Labour government, but you're not going to get one under Keir Starmer, are you?
Please, the last thing I want is a general election in December again.
Gosh,
that would be a disaster. Look, I actually think Keir Starmer is doing a relatively good job. I certainly don't accept that he opposes everything, because he's been quite constructive throughout the pandemic period. Any leader of the opposition would have their hands tied in such a obviously bad situation. But do you know what? Inside the Labour Party, because it's such a messed up party, it really was, antagonised by the Corbyn years, and I was never on his side. He is fixing lots of things that will stop people like Jeremy Corbyn isn't a Labour MP, for example, because Keir Starmer kicked him out of the Parliamentary Labour Party. That was pretty decisive. And then the people that run the Labour Party internally that will decide who the MPs are in future, who maybe the leader after Keir Starmer is, he has massively changed those to be moderate, sensible people, and that won't show to most people watching this to the public, but I think it will show in the years to come, much like Neil Kinnock did in the 80s.
Okay,
he wasn't that vocal about Angela Rayner calling Tories scum, though, was he really?
Well, he said she was wrong straight away, and she apologised at a later date.
He could have put it a bit stronger.
But the difficulty is he can't sack her. She's the one person he can't sack.
It seems that it's more of a marathon than a race for Keir Starmer, so watch this space, but he's definitely got to raise his game in 2022, I would argue.
Definitely.
Dawn,
definitely.
your Union Jackass.
Right, okay, so this moves seamlessly on from Keir Starmer to Matt Hancock.
Okay.
It's a man that's literally cocked up, see what I did there? Very good name he's got there. Literally cocked up everything he has touched this year, including the mistress. You knew I was going to do that. You knew I was going to do that.
You can take the editor out of the Star.
Tabloid. It's Christmas, come on. These jokes are out of crackers, slightly grown up crackers.
So back to Matt Hancock's baubles.
Yes, exactly. Nice set of baubles. Well, I mean, basically, he's been sacked for being rubbish. I mean, this is Dominic Cummings who described him as totally blooming useless, didn't he? Yeah. Only slightly stronger. And I think, actually, to agree with Dominic Cummings takes some doing, but I think he might have had a point. Let's start with the care homes, okay? Yeah. He was the one responsible for sending people back from hospital into care homes without testing them for COVID. And then the final straw on for me was sort of like the fact that he was caught breaking all the rules that he helped set with his mistress.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, I think there's no answer to that one. On the other two, I mean, there was a global demand for PPE early in the pandemic, so perhaps we should cut him some slack on that one.
No, I'm not cutting any slack at all, Mark.
And what about the care homes? I mean, I wonder whether his great crime was to simply follow all of the advice of Sage, and he's been the fall guy for a lot of scientists that had the wrong approach.
Yeah, but he was in charge. He was the health secretary. He should have stood up and said, no, I'm the health secretary. I mean, why have our elected politicians been listening to a group of scaremongering scientists? They're not elected. I mean, what science they were following veered all over the place, didn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it was
I
always...
think we've learned this year that there is no such thing as the science.
No, the
trademark.
science, no. Stay home. Don't go out. You'll kill people. I mean, that's all we got. So Matt Hancock needed to grow a pair and stand up to the scientists, and he never did that. And
well, can I just say he did grow a pair, and it's all on video.
Yes, I know. Come on,
you can see it. You can see it online.
Oh,
honestly, I'll be throwing up my pigs in blankets if I watch that again.
Oh no!
Wrapped in bacon. Who knew?
Oh,
Benjamin,
stop.
your first Union Jackass.
Look, I'm going to go on basically the opposite of Dawn's J.K. Rowling suggestion, and that's the Equalities Minister, in inverted commas, Kemi Badenoch, because she has gaslit the LGBT community all year. She doesn't believe in equality for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender people. And also there was another incident earlier this year, linking to the Matt Hancock story actually, where they were making a video about why ethnic minorities should go out and get the COVID vaccine back when the refusal rate was sort of worryingly high. And Kemi Badenoch was asked by a journalist at the Huffington Post why she didn't take part in this. A private exchange, a perfectly reasonable email, do you have a comment to give, is this accurate? And instead of answering that journalist, who was not famous, not on the television, not seeking any limelight, she went and published that journalist's personal email and her private request on Twitter, and she was inundated with hate. And for me, that was a really dangerous moment. You don't have to agree with Kemi Badenoch or the Tory government, I don't. But the fact that she went and tried to scare that journalist out of writing the story really concerned me. And dare I say, she was pipped to be the new education secretary. She didn't get it. So if there's any justice, I think maybe Boris Johnson thought she was a bit of a jackass as well.
Brilliant stuff. Well, more highlights and lowlights of 2021 after this.
Hello there, I'm Eamon.
And I'm Isabel.
And you're watching the GB News digital stream across the United Kingdom.
And around the world.
If you're here in the UK, you can also watch us on your TV screen. GB News is Freeview channel 236.
On Sky, we're channel 515.
626 on Virgin Media.
Just remember, you might need to retune your TV to watch the channel.
Yeah, and if you are doing that, find out more about retuning by going to gbnews.uk.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilized conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panelists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Join me, Mark White, here on GB News. For more than 2 decades, I've been at the sharp end of reporting crime and security at home and abroad. From the scourge of terrorism to the fight against violent crime and the deepening small boats crisis in the Channel, they're issues you rightly care about, and so do I. As GB News Home and Security Editor, my focus will be on the stories that matter to you.
Hello and welcome back to the Greatest Britain and Union Jackass special, in which we're celebrating / castigating the heroes and villains of the last year, all in the company of Morgan Shondelmeyer, the brilliant Benjamin Butterworth, and the marvellous Dawn Neeson. So Morgan, let's kick off this part with your first Greatest Britain of this section.
I'm going to go with Emma Ratacanu, US Open winner. I feel like the entire country was watching her at the US Open. She had an amazing round. I think the first qualifier to ever win a Grand Slam title. Yeah, so I think she's a great kind of role model for young girls across the country who want to get into sport and the future of British tennis.
Do you worry that this great talent could be sort of crushed by the fame game before she's even started?
I hope not. She's still so young, isn't she? I mean, you know, there was that criticism, which I sort of didn't like, about, oh, she's signed all these contracts, she's going to get her head turned, and you can't blame her for going for it. I mean, she's incredibly talented, incredibly beautiful, incredibly young. So I don't think, I think she's being well looked after, and I hope she does.
She doesn't strike me as that type of person.
Were you surprised that she dispensed with the services of her coach after that win?
I was, actually. I'm not, you know, I don't know the ins and outs of the drama of the tennis world, but it did seem quite surprising to see someone do so well.
I think she'd always just sort of had him for a fixed period, right? And so it was a bit unfair. Look, I think anyone that's as self-disciplined as she must be.
Absolutely.
You know, this is also someone that was a top grade student at her local state comprehensive while training for the US Open. I mean, it's extraordinary that she went from tweeting, oh, looks like the exams aren't happening, to winning the US Open in just a couple of months.
And credit to Amazon, who had the rights to screen that match, that shared it with Channel 4 so we could all watch it.
I mean, I won't be giving credit to Amazon, but I'd rather they gave some credit to us in the form of tax.
Yeah, well, I know, that would be quite nice. And let's get to
Controversial.
your first Greatest Britain of this section.
They are technically Kiwi, technically British. It's not Dan Wootton, because this is actually not a human. It's Geronimo the alpaca. And I think, we're thinking about those we've lost this year, who were heroes, and Geronimo has to be up there because he fought so hard. This was the alpaca that the government killed partway through the year. They said that he had tuberculosis. The trial, the test that came after he died, said that he didn't. And for me, that fight that he put up to get through and get the science and try and have the proper test, that makes Geronimo the alpaca a Great Britain for me. But you never liked Geronimo in the first place.
I didn't dislike him at all in any way, shape or form. I just don't really get how Brits get so worked up about animals and yet we can let kids be abused, like in the Rotherham scandal, but we seem to care more about animals in this country. It is a fact that we give more money to animal charities than we do to children's charities in this country.
But I don't think you can't care about them both. And I think, really...
Of course you can compare.
Animals don't have a voice, do they?
No.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It didn't have tuberculosis according to the test that was done after it was shot by the government.
Morgan's gone very quiet. I'm concerned that rather fetching Christmas jumper is made of alpaca.
It could be. I'm not quite sure, but I will say Geronimo did have 2 positive tests before he was put down, and I think if we're going to be a country that cares about biosecurity and animal food standards, then we need to
It can't be ruled
live up
out.
to our rules.
It can't be ruled out that Morgan is wearing Geronimo as we speak.
Well, actually, a nice pair of socks from alpaca as well. I mean,
there you go. Now, Dawn, how about your first Greatest Britain of this section?
I'm going to go for the very obvious one, and I hope everyone watching will agree, I'm going to go for the Queen.
Oh, brilliant.
In her 95th year, she has had an incredibly tough year. She lost her husband, a man who's been by her side since she was a young woman. She has had the awful Prince Andrew and Harry to put up with. I mean, one was her favourite son, the other was her favourite grandson.
Apparently her favourite son mired in endless scandal.
Yeah.
And her grandson doing everything he can to destroy the family.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the way Harry and Meghan have behaved and some of the things they've said, and as we know, Meghan may be a bit distant from the truth occasionally. The Queen, at the end of the day, she is a woman. She's a mum, she's a grandmother, she's a great-grandmother. She has been poorly. She missed the cenotaph ceremony, which must have broken her heart as well. She's been too poorly to even go to church. She has been there throughout all her lives. None of us know what it's like not to have her on the throne. So I think the Queen is certainly the greatest Brit this Christmas.
It's a wonderful nomination, and we do wish the Queen well in her health for a very healthy and vibrant 2022. Well, Morgan, first Union Jackass.
My first Union Jackass of this round is going to be Joe Biden. And I know he's not a Brit, but I hope we make an exception.
He's probably forgotten what he is, so it doesn't matter.
Well, he claims his Irish heritage very closely, so he clearly has an attachment to this part of the world. I'm a registered Democrat in the States, which does surprise many people, and I am a Joe Biden voter. But I've been less than impressed with his performance this year. I think he is displaying a lot of the Trumpian mannerisms that I say that he frowned upon. He's not particularly kind to journalists. He's making a lot of inappropriate comments and flubs. And also kind of in the biggest instance was the disgraceful withdrawal of US troops from Afghanistan. Really left our allies in the region.
I mean, other than the pandemic, that might have been the biggest low point of the year. That's pathetic Allied withdrawal from Afghanistan, which is now precipitating a huge humanitarian crisis.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of countries to blame in this as well. I think the UK should have stood up to Biden and said, this isn't right, this isn't what we should be doing.
Well, Biden didn't even call Boris to tell him what was happening.
It really is the worst decision.
And do you think that Biden has therefore handed the presidency to the next Republican nominee in 2024, whether it's Donald Trump or Ron DeSantis or anyone? Do you think the Democrats are now destined to lose the next election?
I think there's a long time between now and the next election. I think we forget that Biden only came to office earlier this year. It's been a long year.
I mean, I think we can assume
Yeah.
he certainly won't be running in 2024.
I think that's probably a safe assumption. I'm not sure that he'll be in good enough health to run. I don't think Trump will be in good enough health to run, but I'm not particularly optimistic for the future of either party.
Is there an obvious heir apparent to Joe Biden? Because it's not Kamala Harris, is it?
Well, I don't think she's really risen to the challenge. She's not as popular as maybe she had anticipated she would be. So no, I'm not. I'm actually not quite sure.
Now, Benjamin, you must have been celebrating a Democratic victory at the last US presidential election, but are you disappointed that, in a sense, from your point of view, it's the right party, but probably the wrong person in Joe Biden?
Well, I was celebrating a Democratic victory with a small d, because that's exactly what Donald Trump tried to prevent in his nonsense of claiming that the election was rigged and unfair.
But do you think your mates over in the Democratic movement of America just messed up choosing Joe Biden? You know, look at the last election. Is that the best that they had to offer?
Do you know, I loved Pete Buttigieg, who is the gay, young, moderate, very sort of centrist, Blair-style politics, forward-thinking. He really inspired me, and he's a gay Christian. There was just so much about him that I thought was engaging. Now, he was too young to be president. I think he's barely 40, and he's now transport secretary, so he's in the cabinet. He could be a future candidate. I think he's really inspiring and moderate. Look, if I could choose the US president, it'd be Hillary Clinton every time, always. I sort of lie awake at night crying about the absence of President Hillary.
Thinking about Hillary Clinton.
I do worry about you sometimes. I think it's time for an intervention. Please send help to Benjamin.
Honestly, Hillary was right. And look, you're looking at all these people being indicted, going before courts. I tell you what, Hillary is free, and she always will be. It's just a shame that she didn't lead the free world.
Well, let's talk about your union jackass, because Hillary is a union jackass for many, but who is it for you?
Well, do you know what? Leading on from what Morgan said, it will be the Taliban, because they have obviously been utterly abhorrent. They tried to trick, I think, the Western world, people like Joe Biden and Boris Johnson, and then they launched this incredibly strange PR campaign.
The new woke Taliban.
Taliban 2.0.
Exactly, yeah.
Plant-based.
New Taliban, they might call themselves. You know, if Alistair Campbell were advising them.
Well, they're not as scary as New Labour, so we'll give them that.
Well, that's true.
Look, I was amazed by this, and I ended up having my own interaction with the Taliban, because a couple of months ago, when they were doing this, I had been trying to speak to them about what they were doing, taking over Kabul, and at 4 a.m. in the morning, one of the Taliban spokesmen rang me quite unexpectedly. I just got back from a drag night in Soho when the Taliban rang.
As you do.
And it was the strangest conversation of my life.
They probably had just got back from a drag night in Kabul as well, to be honest with you.
Honestly, they'd been in,
They don't like women very much.
But their engagement with you is part of this PR exercise, which has now
Precisely.
proved to be completely empty.
I mean, I was completely shocked that they were calling me, and I asked them all these questions. I asked them about women's rights, about what they were going to do about the airport that wasn't letting people out that wanted to escape, about what they do about the rule of law and of attacking their own citizens. And everything they said has been proven to be a lie. Now, when I wrote the story, of course, I wrote it that we will not expect them to tell the truth. But it is so revealing that they are trying to use new technologies, they're trying to use the mass media, they're trying to use social media to hoodwink the West, and it's something we should be so aware of. And also, my flatmate got the shock of his life, because he asked who I was on the phone to at 4 a.m. And I said, I'm really sorry to wake you, it's the Taliban. And he asked no further questions.
No.
Yes, I think that's definitely a conversation stopper.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, Dawn, briefly, your union jackass for this section.
Right, my union jackass for this section, I'm going to do it very briefly because I don't want to talk about them because they want their own privacy, is Meghan and Harry.
Yeah, and let's be honest,
They've
had a year
Where do you even start?
of headlines, of radio and television conversation, the Oprah interview.
Oh, don't.
They're the only people on TV more than Dawn.
At least I don't tell lies. Sorry. You know, I mean, obviously, the latest thing is that, you know, she has been in the High Court having to apologise because despite claiming she had not at all collaborated with the authors of that hideous book about them, she had to say, actually, I kind of forgot that I had. Now, you know, you forget where you leave your keys, you forget putting the iron on, leaving the iron on.
Or why you went into that bedroom upstairs.
No, that was because, oh no, sorry. I said I wouldn't say that. But I mean, you don't forget helping to write a book, do you? I mean, it just doesn't happen.
I think you don't.
No.
I do agree. I think that's a slam dunk of a nomination.
Yes.
Meghan and Harry as a composite unit, a quite pair of jackasses, the likes of which we haven't seen for a long time. Well, more heroes and villains after this.
Hello there, I'm Eamon.
And I'm Isabel.
And you're watching the GB News digital stream across the United Kingdom.
And around the world.
If you're here in the UK, you can also watch us on your TV screen. GB News is Freeview channel 236.
On Sky, we're channel 515.
626 on Virgin Media.
Just remember, you might need to retune your TV to watch the channel.
Yeah, and if you are doing that, find out more about retuning by going to gbnews.uk.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilized conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
This is Mark Dolan. Welcome back to the final part of Greatest Britons and Union Jackasses, our festive special, looking back at the heroes and villains of the year gone by with Morgan Schondelmeyer, Dawn Neeson and Benjamin Butterworth. So Dawn, your first Greatest Briton for this last section.
Right, okay, I'm going to go with the Greatest Briton. I'm not actually sure he is a Brit, but it doesn't matter. He's universal. I'm going to go with Santa. Because
of course he's British.
Of course he is. And he is going to come down our chimneys and fill our stockings this Christmas. Because last Christmas we were all told that if you went near Santa, if you hugged Santa, you were going to kill thousands of grannies. So I think after the last Christmas where they locked us in our homes, they told us we'd be miserable, weren't allowed to see anyone, weren't allowed to hug anyone, no kissing under the mistletoe, no, nothing. It was horrid, wasn't it, Benjamin?
Well, look, so long as he's got his COVID passport like the Tesco advert says.
I was going to get on to that. So any case, Santa, who is real by the way, doesn't need a COVID passport. And you know, the whole Tesco's have got this advert, right? The worst Christmas advert out of the whole selection, and there's a lot of competition in this one. And in it, they show Santa coming into the UK, standing at customs, waving his COVID passport. Now, look, I don't have a problem with COVID passports travelling, etc., etc. But I don't want a Christmas advert that's selling me mince pies and pigs in blankets, giving me a lecture about the pandemic. No.
And I don't think it's Tesco's job, and they're a great company, but it's not their job to push the vaccine.
No,
I don't think it is. That's not what they do. They sell groceries.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't, for me, it's not even about vaccine, anti-vaccine. This is about, I want my Christmas adverts to be joyful and full
Which is why the woke adverts have been so unpopular as well, from John Lewis and the like.
Yeah, the alien one. What's that about?
What's woke about that?
I thought it was cute. I loved it.
Oh. You know,
well, it was clearly loaded with politics, wasn't it?
I'm sorry, but people were saying, oh, it's an alien, it's a message about refugees. Well, wait, you know, if you think the John Lewis advert is a message about refugees, wait till you read the Bible, right? Because you'll be calling that woke in a second.
Oh, the Old Testament's quite good, though. It's quite sexy. Very violent.
I love Santa, his Tesco passport, COVID passport,
no.
John Lewis, I think they're great.
No, I want Santa just to come and fill my stockings.
Well, this you might want to rephrase that, but then again, it is Christmas.
I don't want to rephrase that.
So knock yourself out. Lucky Santa. He's going to get more than a mince pie and a glass of brandy. Round at the Neeson household.
But my favourite Christmas advert.
You going up his chimney?
It's the talking up my chimney any day. It's the talking banana from Aldi. That's funny. It's cute.
I've not seen this.
It's a talking banana.
What's it do? What's it say?
It talks.
What's it say? Buy more food.
No. It's the story of Scrooge. It's a banana Scrooge.
It was quite funny. And that's what you want at Christmas, just a bit of a laugh, no politics, no finger wagging.
I want to get fruity.
Of course you do. Morgan, your greatest Briton.
My greatest Briton actually is Prince Philip. And I think it was obviously incredibly sad when he passed, but I think it allowed us to commemorate what was a lifetime of service to Queen and country. All the lives changed by the Duke of Edinburgh Award, and just a really kind of sobering moment for the nation. It made the royal family feel like just any other family this year who had suffered loss.
And we won't forget the haunting images, will we, of the Queen sat on her own in the chapel during the pandemic, socially distanced.
You know, all of us, you know, that have lost someone, but especially when you think about grandparents where one has died first, you know, that's what the Queen will be facing this festive period. You know, it's that time of family, and she won't have the one person who went through it all by her side. I have to say, I did the Duke of Edinburgh Award. I think I nearly died on that.
Did you?
You know, it's exhausting.
Not did you normally die, but did you?
I did. I only got to silver. I didn't get as far as gold, but it's exhausting. So you know, he's put a lot of us through our
Why did you pull
trials.
out the gold?
I just didn't do it that far. You know, I'd got it for the university application. I didn't really want to do another 20-mile hike, to be honest.
I love a 20-mile hike.
You do. You can't. You don't stop walking.
No.
Not in those boots.
No, not in these.
Yeah, you don't strike me as the roughing it type, the sort of outdoorsy camping. You're more like 5-star
He likes
hotel.
a bit of camping.
I do. There's plenty of camp with me. I don't need to go to a campsite. I actually love that. We digress, but I love going around the world and staying in hostels where you meet lots of people. And when I'm thinking about what I want from 2022, I know you can sort of go on holiday, but that freedom to roam, to be able to just go from country to country, to have an adventure, that's what I'm so hoping that, you know, is actually possible without all sorts of paperwork.
Well, how about your greatest Briton?
Well, my greatest Briton is going to be a man called Jay Hall. Now, you probably haven't heard of him, but earlier this year we had the universal credit cut, that £20, which will have left a lot of people at this festive period struggling.
Was it a cut or was it the removal of the temporary increase?
Well, I think it was a cut, Mark. It was a cut from what it had been for the last 18 months.
Technically, it was a removal of what...
But actually, if you get into the question about why it was put up, well, it was put up because a load of middle-class people found themselves without jobs and thought, oh, universal credit's bad. So, you know, if it's good enough for the middle-class people, why isn't it good enough for everyone that's still going to be on universal credit for various other reasons after the pandemic has ended as such? You know, I think that's a valid question. Also, inflation, £20 off, it does not leave you with the same amount now as it did 18 months ago. It leaves you with less money. But this is a man, Jay Hall, and I wrote about him in the newspaper because he was so worried about it. He's a window cleaner. He doesn't have a great deal of disposable income, and he decided to give £20 a week to someone who was really struggling to make ends meet, that genuinely couldn't afford for their family. And actually, last Christmas and on a few other Christmases, he'd got together with some friends and raised £400 of their own money, put it in for a couple of local families to make sure they could buy their kids presents. And for me, it just epitomises what's special about Christmas, because when he was younger, he didn't have a job and he was struggling for money. And he said the worst time of his life was when he couldn't buy his child Christmas presents. Yeah. And so now at Christmas, he gets together with a couple of friends to make sure that some people they know that are struggling can afford to get their kids presents. And it moves me so much. And I think that's the real spirit of Christmas.
It's a great nomination. Yeah. I think sadly many more than usual will be struggling this Christmas and over the new year and well into 2022. What do you think, Morgan, about the economics of this, the decision to remove that temporary increase in universal credit worth about £20 a week?
Yeah, I do acknowledge the point about, is it a cut? Is it a rollback of a temporary scheme? But I think the bigger issue here is making sure that universal credit is targeted in a way that supports the people on the lowest incomes and isn't spending on the margins. So we need to make sure we're looking at people who truly can't work, people who are disabled, who are mentally unfit to work or anything like that, and making sure that we're giving targeted support to those people. I think there's going to be a lot of strife as we come out of the pandemic with inflation, as Benjamin says. So I think that maybe now is not the time to remove the uplift, but we need to make sure that we are focusing long-term in targeted support for the people who need it most.
The government would argue that they've focused that resource for in-work benefits for people who are struggling to make ends meet, who have a job.
Yeah, absolutely. The point of universal credit is that it rewards work. You know, it goes hand in hand with people who work. But there are people who can't work. There are people who are primary caregivers and don't have time to take on a full-time job. There are lots of reasons why people can't work.
Do you think 2022 will be a year of recovery?
I'm not optimistic, mostly because I don't appreciate the policies that this government is pursuing. I think that they have taken a liking to spending money. I think they're going to continue to spend money in frivolous ways to support their political agenda. And I think that's harmful for the economy.
And what would that be? Levelling up?
Something like that.
HS2?
You know. Exactly. I think that those are the kind of projects that aren't well thought out. They're not cost-benefit analysis. None of their policies thus far are working to achieve that.
Although surely levelling up is a really important policy because the North has been under-resourced for decades, and it was a big manifesto commitment from the Prime Minister.
Yeah, of course, but what is levelling up? What do they mean when they say levelling up?
Transport infrastructure, business investment.
Yeah.
Tax incentives.
That is what they say, but at the same time, they're cutting HS2, they're raising corporation tax, they're pulling back the super deduction on infrastructure for plants and machinery. So all of these things are the opposite of leveling up. To me, it seems that leveling up is listing local produce and saying how much you like it.
Right, yeah.
I mean, look, spending money on frivolous things is the only thing me and this Tory government have in common.
Morgan, your union jackass.
So my union jackass, the last one, is a group of people, actually, and it's Insulate Britain.
No, they're lovely. Oh, yeah.
You've beaten Dawn to it.
A hiss from the crowd. I think Insulate Britain, yes, they may have a noble cause. I do think that we need to take action on climate change, but I think that they are going about it in completely the wrong way. They are distancing a lot of people from their cause. They're not endearing themselves to anyone. They're breaking the law. They're endangering other people. They're blocking ambulances from getting to hospitals. They're not helping their cause. We need to be talking about how we can make housing in general more affordable. Newer houses are more energy efficient. We need to be building more new homes. These are the sorts of things that we can do to focus on housing and climate change. And none of it involves gluing yourselves to a road.
Oh, I gluing your face to the tarmac. Come on, it's the perfect thing to do over Christmas. Just joking, don't try it.
The only thing I'll be glued to the biscuit tin over Christmas, but you know, in honor,
face down in
exactly,
the biscuit tin.
in honour of Insulate Britain.
Yeah, when you come back to Dan Wootton's show early in the new year, you're going to have a special wide-angle lens.
Exactly.
Your own sofa.
That sofa will need to get longer to
You're going to look like
fit
a biscuit
me in.
barrel.
Exactly. I mean, it's getting quite personal now, Dawn, but...
She's enjoying this far too much. Benjamin, your union jackass.
Well, we almost did the whole show without saying his name, but it's Prince Andrew. Exactly. The reaction of the world, I think. Look, you know, maybe he is innocent. He denies all the charges against him, all the questions against him about what happened with Jeffrey Epstein and with Virginia Giraffe. You know, we don't know what happened. So why, a year later, are we still waiting for him to go to the US to answer the FBI's questions? It is pathetic. And what really frustrates me is that he is embarrassing this whole country.
Yeah, quite.
And you know, you quite rightly had the Queen as one of your greatest Britons. She's had a horrible time. She's lost her husband. She's got Harry and Meghan causing all sorts of problems and damaging the firm. The last thing she needs is a son that won't answer some pretty basic questions. You know, if you ask me, have you ever sexually assaulted or inappropriately behaved with a 17-year-old girl? No. It's a very easy to answer.
Yeah,
I can do it.
because no one would actually ask you that, would they, really?
Any of us could do that.
No.
Why can't Prince Andrew?
I mean, you know, why does, if he's innocent, as he claims, why doesn't he just go and explain what happened?
Maybe he fears it's a kangaroo court. Trial by media. Would he get a fair trial?
Well, if he wants to clear his name, surely he has
But
to.
I tell you what, if he doesn't go and answer those questions, he's risking the reputation of the royal family. And we've seen that so painfully. You know, if he fears trial by media, well, he's had trial by media. Now why don't you go and sit down with the people that are actually trying to resolve alleged crimes, resolve questions around these women that were abused? You know, because he's not actually accused of any sort of legal accusation. He's meant to be helping the investigation. Why not?
He's
Why
impeding
isn't he?
justice if he's not going to help them get convictions for people who are implicated in the scandal. That's a moral failing on his part.
Dawn Neeson, you get the last word.
Marvellous.
Your Union Jackass, your final Union Jackass
Thank you
for
very
this
much.
festive special.
Looking forward to 2022. Can't believe it's 2022 already. Amazing. And the World Cup.
Oh, yes.
So my final Union Jackass tonight is David Beckham. And any of the World Cup footballers who are going to Qatar to take part in this tournament. Because David Beckham, as we know, has taken £150 million to be the face of the tournament. And this is...
Has he really been paid that much?
Yeah. And meanwhile, all our multimillionaire footballers who've spent the entire year taking the knee and wearing their rainbow races are going to go to a country where literally 6,500 modern-day slaves have died building those stadiums, where being homosexual is a crime. I mean, there are gay people in prison. And try being a woman out there, you have literally zero rights whatsoever. So, I mean, I think the hypocrisy...
Do you know, I don't agree. Clearly, I think Qatar is obscene and morally bankrupt, and it's benefiting from the deaths of slaves, as Dawn says. But I don't agree that you should criticise the actual footballers.
Why?
Because they had no power over where the World Cup would go. They couldn't control
But they
that
can
they
boycott
would...
it.
What I think we should do is have a diplomatic boycott, by which I mean we don't send the head of the FA, Prince William, we don't send any of our
They won't go.
politicians.
The tournament should not be there. It was got on a corrupt...
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, on a corrupt way.
You mentioned rainbow laces and taking the knee. Well, how powerful to do that in a country where so many of their fans will never have seen that. To wear a rainbow armband in a country where they put gay people in prison.
Yeah, because
I think
once the football tournament is over, you try walking down the street in
don't
your
doubt
rainbow
that.
laces or your rainbow.
But
So
imagine
it's just
being-
But perhaps
hypocrisy.
it provokes a conversation in that region which is not being had at the moment.
Exactly.
Well, because they'll kill you if you try and have that conversation, and it will be the same. Nothing will change because we are playing football out there.
Those
Nothing.
gay people that live there will never have heard and seen that. It reminds me of the 2012 Olympics when they broadcast a gay kiss, a lesbian kiss from Emmerdale, and they secretly put that in the opening ceremony. It was the first one ever broadcast in Saudi Arabia. That made me proud to be British.
Because it will not change a damn thing out there. People will still be dying, women will still be treated as second-class citizens, as will gay people, and they will still carry on using modern-day slavery.
And on that lively note, my thanks to my fabulous
Merry
panel.
Christmas.
Morgan Shondelmeyer, Dawn Neeson and Benjamin Butterworth. Thank you so much for watching. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. See you soon.
On Mark Dolan tonight, we have a simple plan, which is to inform, stimulate and entertain in equal measure. It's all about getting your opinions on the national television airwaves. I love my viewer emails, mark@gbnews.uk. So do join me from 9 p.m. to midnight every Friday, Saturday and Sunday for big guests, big opinions,